Welcome back to another exciting episode of History Around the Globe. The show that takes you around the globe to learn history. America is amazing. This week, we bring you to Fort Huachuca Army Intelligence Installation, where we learn about Prosser Village and all of the outstanding buildings within its complex.
Staff Sergeant Prosser was an intelligence analyst who made the ultimate sacrifice for his country. He exhibited exceptional courage and leadership during the execution of combat operations in Afghanistan while serving as an assistant intelligence officer with the United States Army Special Forces. Staff Sergeant Prosser's flawless execution of his intelligence duties and selfless service to his comrades in arms epitomized the Military Intelligence Corps motto, always out front. Staff Sergeant Prosser's distinguished service to our Army serves as an inspiration to all soldiers and exemplifies the values that make our nation great. This complex of barracks, dining facilities, and classrooms is one of two such complexes on Fort Huachuca designed for AIT soldiers. Prosser was an MI NCO assigned to the MI Detachment 2nd Battalion 5th Special Forces Group Airborne, which was sent to Afghanistan following the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. While assisting villagers who had rebelled against the Taliban oppressors, Prosser and his team called in airstrikes on the Taliban convoy before it could reach the village. The 28-year-old Prosser posthumously received a Bronze Star for valor and a Purple Heart.
Sergeant de Pasqua was a World War I undercover agent and member of the Corps of Intelligence Police, CIP. He infiltrated German-sponsored subversive movements in the police and prevented severe losses to the Allies from sabotage and espionage. He was the first member of the CIP to be awarded the Citation for Meritorious Service. De Pasqua, a master of several languages, was able to move freely and unnoticed while posing as an interpreter for the American Red Cross during World War I. Calling himself Pietro, he befriended a Spaniard named Diaz, whose group was planning acts of sabotage through a German spy master. Pietro acted as their courier and uncovered their plot to destroy a major munitions depot. Known as the Limping Lady because of her wooden leg, Miss Hall used her covers as a journalist to work for the British Special Operations Executive and later the American Office of Strategic Services in World War II occupied France. She organized intelligence, sabotage, and resistance units that played a major role in the Allied victory in France. In a rare distinction for a civilian, she was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross at the end of the war. She went on to serve in the CIA until she retired in 1972. This building in Prosser Village is one of only two buildings on post named for a woman. During World War II, Hall worked with both the British Special Operations Executive and the American Office of Strategic Services. Despite a leg injury, Hall parachuted into France with her wooden leg under her arm, earning her the nickname Limping Lady by the French resistance. The Germans called her Artemis and placed her on the Gestapo's most wanted list of Allied spies. She had many Allied code names such as Boozy, Mary Monin, Germaine, Diane, and Camille, and she spoke fluent English, French, German, and Italian. Private First Class Cap was a radio intercept operator in the Philippines during the Japanese invasion. Remaining until his mission could no longer be accomplished, he helped lead a heroic 6-month odyssey through the islands until captured by the Japanese army in September 1942. He remained in captivity until his death in 1944. Cap was stationed in the Philippines at the outbreak of World War II. After the fall of the Philippines to the Japanese, he and his fellow signals intelligence operators eluded the Japanese for 6 months. Purchasing a makeshift boat with his own money, Cap and his men set sail for Australia, but currents and winds forced them to the Indonesian islands, where they were quickly captured by the Japanese. The voyage severely damaged Cap's health, and he suffered further from exposure, disease, and starvation as a prisoner of war. Colonel Hitt had a lifelong interest in cryptology. A veteran of the Spanish-American War, he developed measures that revealed and resolved deficiencies in Army ciphers during World War I. His manual for the solution of military ciphers was the first ever published on cryptology in the United States. Parker Hitt was a civil engineering student at Purdue University when he decided to join the Army. Hitt also served as the assistant to the chief signal officer in Pershing's American Expeditionary Forces during World War I. He had a flair for solving ciphers and literally wrote the book on the subject. His own code machine was modified and adopted by the Army as the M94, which was used until World War II. As General Patton's G2 during World War II, Brigadier General Kutch pioneered the concept of all-source intelligence and analysis. He never allowed General Patton to be surprised by enemy action. After World War II, General Kutch organized and commanded the United States Army's first peacetime intelligence school. He developed a G2 intelligence planning cycle that was the forerunner of the modern-day intelligence cycle. His book, G2 Intelligence for Patton, continues to be a required reading for military intelligence officers. Kutch did more for the development of combat intelligence than any other American intelligence officer prior to or during World War II. In addition to enabling Army commanders to make quicker combat decisions than ever before and assisting staff planning at all levels, he continuously developed new intelligence techniques and procedures. He also initiated intelligence training at all 3rd Army units, stressing enemy tactics and order of battle organization and training commanders and staffs in the proper use of intelligence specialists. Kutch, more than any modern soldier, successfully demonstrated the proper place of intelligence in the decision-making process. Paul Revere was active in underground politics prior to the American Revolution. With a small group of skilled workers, he formed a secret intelligence network to observe and warn militant patriots on the activities of the British military in and around Boston. Paul Revere became an American Revolutionary hero after his famous Midnight Ride warned the patriots of a British raid on Concord. 10 years before the outbreak of the American Revolution, Boston silversmith Paul Revere belonged to an underground intelligence network known as the Mechanic, also known as the Liberty Boys. The group was known to sabotage and steal British military equipment in the Boston area. They were not the most professional MI team. They always met in the same place, the Green Dragon Tavern, and one of their leaders was a British agent, Dr. Benjamin Church. Colonel Schur was the commander, Station 6, 2nd Signal Service Company, stationed in the Philippines at the outbreak of World War II. He led intercept efforts as U.S. forces withdrew to Corregidor Island. There he was selected to accompany General Douglas MacArthur to Australia in March 1942. In Australia, he served as Chief Signal Intelligence Division, U.S. Armed Forces, Far East until his death in a plane crash near Calcutta, India in September 1943. In 1941, Schur established the Central Bureau, a communications intelligence unit, at the Southwest Pacific Area Theater headquarters in Manila. When the Japanese invaded the Philippines on December 22nd, Schur's men were activated to Corregidor, where they continued to operate a tiny intercept station. When MacArthur left the Philippines in 1942 for Australia, he took Schur with him because his mastery of cryptanalysis was deemed crucial to the war effort. General Willoughby was the G2 for General Douglas MacArthur throughout the Pacific campaigns of World War II. After the war, he accompanied MacArthur to Japan and served as a senior intelligence officer in the Army of Occupation and in the U.S. Army Far East Command. He retired from the Army in 1951. Born Karl Adolf Charles Weidenbach in Germany, Willoughby moved to the U.S. at age 18, gained U.S. citizenship, and changed his name. Early in his career, he served as a military attaché in Ecuador, received medals from Mussolini's government, and delivered speeches to Spanish dictator Generalissimo Francisco Franco. During World War II and the occupation of Japan, he served as General MacArthur's G2. Considered the pioneer codebreaker, Major Yardley served with distinction during and after World War I as a military intelligence officer. In 1917, he was placed in charge of MI8, the War Department's code and cipher section. His section deciphered 10,725 messages sent by foreign governments. In 1919, Major Yardley broke the Japanese diplomatic code, which gave American negotiators a major advantage in the Washington Naval Conference of 1921. After the war, his Black Chamber solved more than 45,000 telegrams and broke the codes of 19 countries. Yardley headed the War Department's code and cipher section, later often referred to as the Black Chamber, from 1917 through 1929. In 1919, Yardley broke the Japanese diplomatic code, assisting the U.S. negotiators during the Washington Naval Conference of 1921. Yardley's unit also cracked the codes of Argentina, Brazil, Chile, China, Costa Rica, Cuba, England, France, Germany, Japan, Liberia, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, San Salvador, Santo Domingo, Soviet Union, and Spain. After the Black Chamber was closed, Yardley wrote the American Black Chamber, which revealed many classified details of the code and cipher section. While a controversial figure, his pioneering role in American signals intelligence is undeniable.